Hey guys, Tony Denaro here. I know everybody's had a lot of questions about these new regs that have been making the rounds on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube. NSCC 2022-003 and NSCC 2022-801. I've read through the documents, and if you guys remember NSCC 2021-10, the one that everybody was so upset that it got pulled, well, these are pretty much the exact same thing with a couple of minor changes. I did a video on NSCC 2021-10 about a year ago, and I think that my views on this regulation are fairly different than other folks in the community, and I'm going to add that video to the end of this one so that you can watch that again. If you've listened to my live streams a few times, you may have heard me say that NSCC 2021-10 was a result of the 2008 mortgage crisis. So to me anyways, it's not any surprise that the words 2008 mortgage crisis or the words fire sale are mentioned in this regulation, because that is exactly what happened, and that is why we have this proposed regulation. Europe is far ahead of us in implementing this type of regulation, and we are just now here in 2021, 2022, trying to catch up. This is a necessary regulation. Right now, there is no counterparty for SFTs, and there is a major risk of a fire sale. This regulation attempts to solve that. What I want to say about these new regulations is that basically nothing has changed. You got your NSCC 2021-10 back with a couple of minor modifications. I want to encourage you not to just react when you read a post on Reddit, Twitter, or see a YouTube video, someone talking about the words fire sale, and get an emotional reaction. This is the exact same wording that was in NSCC 2021-10. Do you remember how upset everyone was that that regulation got pulled? Do you realize the wording in that document about fire sales was exactly the same as this new regulation? With that being said, here we go with my video from last year. Excuse the horrible delivery. I was not used to being on camera. Let's roll the tape. I see this all over Reddit. I hear a couple of YouTubers talking about it in every other video about how the NSCC is going to allow hedge funds to pledge all their blue chip stocks as collateral and give them overnight loans. And that's not at all what this regulation does. Put it up on the big screen. The key to this regulation is in the very first paragraph, item 3. It establishes the Securities Financing Transaction Clearing Service, a SFT clearing service. Now, if you don't know what a clearing service is, it's basically the job of the NSCC to clear transactions. So when stocks are bought or sold, they're the counterparty, the middleman between the buyer and the seller, the two brokerage firms. And at the end of the day, everybody settles up with one bill. Securities financing transactions, or SFTs, have been around for a long time. They have not been run through a clearinghouse. This regulation -10 is establishing the NSCC as the clearinghouse and the counterparty for SFTs. It does not make the NSCC the lender. It makes them the middleman, or the counterparty. A hedge fund that wants to get a loan using some of its securities as collateral is still going to have to find a lender just like they did before. But now the NSCC is in the middle as the counterparty, ensuring the transaction for both parties. The key to understanding the purpose of this document is at the bottom of page 4, going on to the top of page 5. And I think I can read this one sentence in less than a minute. It says, the NSCC believes it is positioned to create balance sheet netting opportunities for market participants by becoming the legal counterparty to both pre-novation counterparties to an SFT through novation. A lot of legal mumbo jumbo that basically just says, just like in the stock market where the NSCC is the counterparty to a stock buyer and seller, with SFTs, the NSCC will now become a counterparty in between the transaction, ensuring it for both parties. Being a legal counterparty does not mean that the NSCC is making the loan. If you're a hedge fund and you've got some blue chip stocks and you want to go find some money to borrow against them, you still got to find a bank and you bring your transaction to the NSCC where they do the clearing. There's a lot of benefits to having the NSCC in the middle of SFT transactions, as they were one of the contributing causes to the mortgage crisis back in 2008, and the recommendation to have a clearinghouse for SFTs actually came out 7 or 8 years ago as part of the investigation of the mortgage crisis, and Europe is already a couple years ahead of us in implementing this exact same type of rule. Having fun and getting hyped up and having conviction in our purchase of AMC are all super important, but so are facts. So I invite you to buy and hold that subscribe button. Drop a like on today's video if you liked what you saw, and share it with a friend. I'll see you on the next video.